is good, everybody? Welcome to the first ever, this is history making right here. You're part of history. The first ever Vic and Vinny show live from Pub 365 here at the beautiful Tuscany Suites and Casino in Las Vegas. I'm Vinny Bonsignore. I cover the Las Vegas Raiders right back here for the Las Vegas Review-Journal and host a radio show on Raider Nation Radio Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 10 a.m. This handsome gentleman here, by way of Staten Island, New York, is Vic Vega. Excuse me, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This handsome fellow right here, live, direct from Staten Island, New York, and now a longtime resident of Las Vegas. You know him, of course, Vic Vegas from Food Network, from Bar Rescue on Paramount TV, Paramount Productions. Vic, what's going on, brother?
Vinny, I'm so happy to be here with you.
I'm happy to be here too.
I've been wanting to be able to do this for a long time.
Likewise.
Now that I am able to do this with you out of all people,
right.
I'm very happy to be here with you, sir.
As am I. It's interesting because obviously, Vic from Bar Rescue, all right? We all know what the concept of the show is. And by the way, a new season coming up. Congratulations on that. Hard at work over the last, how many months?
Been since the year started, even before the last year ended, it's been go, go, go. We've been making up for what we haven't been able to do the last few years due to the pandemic.
Right. Did the pandemic, what impact did that have?
It was insane because obviously we all know what happened to the restaurant business.
Right.
And obviously the bar industry was struggling to hang in there, but everyone stuck together.
Are we getting back on our feet here?
Yeah, we're getting back. We're getting back on our feet.
Thanks to their efforts too, and when I watch your show, and obviously there's an arc always. There's you come in and you're dealing sometimes with chaos, sadness.
Sometimes.
Right, yeah, exactly, all the time. And it starts basically, there's a reason why you guys have to come into the picture.
There's a reason.
Right, they've hit rock bottom essentially. And you know that going in, but then you guys come in to provide so much hope. And obviously discipline and a plan and teamwork and all that sort of stuff. And when I watch that show, it's hard not to, for my job covering sports, draw a parallel between sports, because sports is all about teamwork and commitment and discipline and all those types of things, and it's not always going to work out.
Very, very good comparison. No, listen, because I love sports, and I understand your world, and in comparing it to this world, you're exactly right. It's like, it's the same intensity as well.
Right, no doubt about it.
There are injuries, there are suspensions, there are, if you think about it, there are fouls.
Repercussions.
We even had an episode where we were throwing flags. Yes, during the stress test, we had to throw flags, just like in football.
Right.
So yeah, we're similar.
Yeah, and I think that there's always a goal, there's always an objective, there's always leaders, there's always people that are teammates and things like that. But it's so interesting because, and almost ironic, in a not a very good way, by the way. We're week 3 into the NFL season right now, and the Raiders, these guys back here, a season that started with so much promise, so much expectations, playoffs, maybe the Super Bowl, a deep run in the playoffs. Las Vegas was going to be lit. That's where we are, of course, in Las Vegas. But they stumbled out of the gate. They're 0-3. I don't want to say that they need Bar Rescue or something similar just yet, but it's getting kind of close. How worried are you?
I have a strong level of faith in Derek Carr.
Okay.
He's a solid guy.
He is, absolutely.
And he's good at what he does. And you know the deal. If you're a few players off, it's like missing certain teeth.
Right.
You cannot chew the right way.
Right.
I'm giving you chew food analogy because we are football and food.
Yes, exactly.
And, I believe in them. They're a great team. I've seen it all evolve.
Right.
But, we're a few guys short of being able to do this.
And I think not just that, and as the season goes on, I think they're going to make whatever additions they need to make to kind of supplement things. But, and you know this in your line of work, and he's been in the food industry for years and years. We're going to get into that as this show grows and moves on.
Sure.
But there's new leadership, there's new players. They're implementing, it's over 10, I would say. say. New players, like in significant roles. It doesn't just happen overnight, does it?
It doesn't happen overnight. You got to give new coach a chance.
Yes.
You got to give new coach a chance to settle in. Just like a rookie player or a first-year player or, anybody who joined a new team, the coach needs time to get settled in. And,
right.
That could be one of the reasons as well that we're a little unbalanced at the moment.
Right. There is a little bit, balance is a good word because balance has been, what do we have here?
Demerong.
They're starting early. We're in Las Vegas, of course.
Oh, yes.
So we're going to let those sit there and look pretty and nice
that.
and exotic. Thank you very much.
Who is responsible for these delicious drinks?
Who's responsible? We're talking to all our fans and people here, but we're going to... Calypso. What do we got over here?
Good old Demon.
Okay,
yes,
there we go. So I think we have a pretty good start on. Thank you very much.
Here too.
Really appreciate that. But I think there definitely are parallels, and we're obviously going to talk a lot about the Raiders, a lot about sports here in Las Vegas, a lot about the food industry here in Las Vegas. Right now, the Raiders are 0-3. There's a game on Sunday against the Denver Broncos over at Allegiant Stadium, not too far from where we're.
All right, we're home.
Yeah, the Raiders are home this
Divisional
week.
game, though.
It's a divisional game. It's a huge game. Yeah. I don't want to say do or die because I'm a literal person. I'm a writer, so it's not do or die. Even if they lose, there's plenty more games and plenty more time left to kind of rescue this season, so to speak. But there's a sense of urgency. Right?
Yeah, but you know what happens? We get that certain time of the year where it just shifts, it changes, and we get that nice little run where you see the highlights and cars just chucking them in.
Interesting that you bring that up because I'm sure with what you do, a little bit of success goes a long way, right? Because, when you guys come into a bar that's struggling and trying to basically get it back on feet, get people to buy in, get people to row in the right direction, get people to be disciplined, all of those attributes that make for a great establishment, a great business, whatever we're talking about. You can talk about it, you can preach it, you can plead with people, but if you're not seeing the results, what's going to happen?
You're going to live a very dormant lifestyle.
And people are going to check out real quick.
Yeah.
They're going to check out really quick on you. And what I love about your show, and this applies to sports as well, a little bit of success where wow, okay, all right, that suggestion worked. This is a really good drink. People are responding to it. You have to, as somebody that's working at a bar or in a bar, you have to have that response. Otherwise, why are we doing this? But even the littlest amount, I think, creates motivation, momentum, and so that's why, to me, a win on Sunday for the Las Vegas Raiders would go a long way, just to kind of settle things down and not necessarily reward them for the hard work, but substantiate, like, okay, this is why we're doing this. If we take care of things in practice day after day after day, these are the results that we're going to get, and these results feel a lot better than how they felt the 3 weeks prior to that.
Yeah, no, and as we're talking about this is great. This is our first one.
It is.
And as we're evolving here, I'm seeing more similarities. Now I'm like, well, John comes in like a coach, rearranges the team, calls some audibles, and then the team starts working better together and getting touchdowns and winning.
I'm going to say this. This is our first show, Vic. All right. When we were, talking about things, I sensed a little skepticism when I was like, what you guys do and what football teams do and baseball teams, whatever, there's some similarities. I saw a little skepticism, but I think now as we're sitting here talking out, you're starting to see that there really are some parallels.
As we're talking about it, because it's not something I thought about.
Right.
You're allowing me to think in real time in front of everyone, process, and then give it back out to our peeps.
Exactly. That's what we're trying to do here. But I want to get into a little bit of your background and your history. Vic is from Staten Island,
yes,
New York.
Born in Brooklyn, and then shifted over to Staten Island about 6 months later.
Which, if you haven't been, it's changed a lot, right? I mean, I'm sure every time you go back, because he came here in 1989, so every time he goes back, there's a little bit.
It got like older and older and older. Now it's getting like newer and newer and newer. They're building it back. It's starting to look good in certain areas, just like anywhere else.
Yes, exactly.
Harlem's got $1 million condos.
Right. Yeah, it's so funny that you say that because when I go back home, I'm from New York as well, Bayshore, Long Island. Shout out to Long Island. When I go back home, and people talk about, hey, where are we going to hang out, and they start mentioning areas. I was like, why would we go? Oh, you haven't seen what this place looks like now, and it's completely changed for the better. I'm a big fan of that. I know, there's a little bit of a fine line. Sometimes you don't want to lose the character, you don't want to lose the essence of a city, but at the same time, it's always good to see it improve and evolve and become a better place to live.
Yeah.
There's some cost effect to that. Some people are aced out, frankly, but I think progress sometimes means that that's going to probably happen.
I think so, Vin. And progress and everybody being on the same page as a city, unity of community, as
Right.
they say, all sticking together and building those places, supporting each other.
Yep.
And doing that.
No doubt about it. All right, so you came here in 1989. Describe Las Vegas.
Wow.
Circa 1989.
Circus. Speaking of circus buffet. You want to go to dinner? Let me go to the circus buffet.
Aha. Is that still going? Wait, let me ask you something. Like when I was a kid, all right, and my parents would take us out here from California. We'd come out here periodically. That was the thing as a kid, because there wasn't all of the stuff that we see here nowadays. And I'm talking back in the 80s. The buffet was like, it was like Disneyland.
The whole thing, the arcade.
Circus for sure.
But
that was the
it
place.
all linked into each other.
Yes.
Because when your parents brought you to Vegas,
Right.
you thought it was the greatest thing on earth to experience circus and everything with it.
Right.
But that was Kids Quest, technically.
Yeah, of course.
That was the Kids Quest we didn't know we were getting put in.
No, and I vaguely remember, and now it makes all the sense in the world. You guys stay here. Mom and Dad are going to go down. There was the arcade and everything was up.
Yes.
And do our thing, which, as it turns out, was losing our college scholarship money. By the way.
Oh yeah, I think so.
On a bad day, on a good day, we got a few dollars stuck in our pocket as well. But I just always remember, in general, the buffet, the Las Vegas buffet was that was what it was all about.
That's a massive memory for me. Do you understand, like, me going to these buffets, these OG buffets, the Riviera, the San Remo, the Circus, going to all these buffets when I became a professional chef in the casinos, and I was in the union in some of these spots like Monte Carlo and Sahara, and I got shifted to the buffet that people didn't quite love to work in because it's such high volume work.
Yes.
I was like reliving the opposite side of my youthful fantasy. Working in the buffet. I was like,
how much did that teach you? Working in I'm sure it was a fast-paced, like you said, high volume. You got to get it out quickly, but you also had to preserve, I'm sure, some level of
I've worked
excellence.
everywhere. See, that's the thing. With my Vegas journey, from the local bars to the local hotels to the downtown hotels to the strip hotels to the fine restaurants in the strip hotels to becoming executive chefs of hotels. I did the whole chef Las Vegas journey, man, and that allows me to be where I am today to do all these wacky things.
Right. Did you think that it was going to lead to where it led to?
I was hoping it was.
Oh, so you had a vision.
I did, because I had a streak of entertainment in me. Like, besides doing the chef, I wanted to put my thing out there on a high level, just to be able to get out there to people and show my stuff to them.
Got it. So Las Vegas has changed dramatically in a lot of different ways. In the 1980s, I'm trying to find the best way to say this, Vic.
No, I came out here in the 80s. I moved out here in 89, but we visited. So I know. I can maybe help you with this.
When I think of Las Vegas, 70s, 80s, I'm thinking Martin Scorsese-ish Las Vegas.
Let me roll my Italian sleeve down.
All right. Oh yes, exactly.
Go ahead.
We don't talk the what? I don't understand what we're. There's nothing.
Right. The good hero sub sandwiches.
Yes, exactly. How prevalent were the were the meatball sandwiches here?
I would say that, like, back in the day, was a different feeling than now. Two good different feelings, the way Vegas was ran previously.
Right.
You know, and, you know, possibly relatives of ours were running Vegas.
Right.
And Vegas now. It's two different kinds of good.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
What was that good?
That good, you know, it's like your dad or your uncle knew someone and like you were able to go have that good dinner.
I love that kind
or
of
your
good.
parents were able to have that great memory because they had an uncle that knew an uncle
Right.
that was related to someone who had something to do with that casino.
Right.
And just the way it was ran, people were taken care of
Yes.
quite nicely.
Right,
Like
right.
you felt like your family was taking care of you.
Yes.
It wasn't so digital. Yes, there's more now to give away.
Right.
But back then, I think it was more concentrated intimacy
Yeah.
when someone put that, you know, in your hand to go have that great night.
No doubt about it. Vic
know?
knows a guy. Hey, Vic, do you still know the guy? You know, like Vinny, do you
Someone
know
put
the
the
guy?
keys to the car in your hands when you
Right.
got to
Oh, yeah.
Vegas,
Right.
and they said, "Go have a good night," and the boys took care of you. You know, that's what made Vegas. That's what allowed a lot of this to happen today.
Yes, there was. It's definitely been a journey here in Vegas, and it started somewhere, and it's evolved without question. But when you first got here, where were your go-tos? What were your go-tos?
Wow. Okay, so my go-to. So getting here in '89 and really coming out here every year from New York with the parents. They were great enough to take me out here every year. That's
What
how-
was their motivation coming out here? Just to have fun?
No, their motivation was to have fun, but they used to always drive like 20 and 30 minutes away to places like Green Valley before they were even built.
Aha.
Watching these beautiful little homes with pools for $100,000
Right.
being built in paradise.
Right, exactly.
Quiet, not congested.
yes.
So it got them to want to eventually buy a house to rent it out to move out
So
here.
a seed was planted.
Yes.
A seed was planted in the desert, by
The
the way.
go-tos. When I
Okay.
came here, my parents, when they first got here, they were, getting used to Vegas. They were only out here on vacation, so there was a lot of strip activity.
Of course.
My father still went to the strip on the weekends,
Okay.
but took me still like we used to. So
Okay.
my go-tos were like Sam's Town buffet,
Ooh, yes.
San Remo buffet, Aladdin lobster tail
Right.
and steak for $7 and
Yes.
change.
Yes.
So stuff like that.
Ah.
You know? That was my stuff, man.
Were you a show guy? Did you like to go to the shows?
I love the old shows like Splash and like the OG shows because my parents were cool enough every now and then to take me to one of the shows that were family friendly.
Okay, yeah.
So like back in the day, Splash and like you'd have like your pina coladas, they were
Right.
virgin.
Right.
But like you got to experience Vegas as a youth.
Yes.
You had cool parents that let you.
That's awesome. Yeah, we came here. We were seeing Bill Cosby. We saw Bill
love that.
Cosby. I remember. Check this out. Somewhere along in the '80s, Muhammad Ali, Joe Louis passed away. The great boxer Joe Louis. My dad, shrewd enough at the time, we're going to be in Las Vegas. They were going to have the wake over at Caesar's Palace at the fight arena.
Sure.
For Joe Louis, he's like, let's just go over there. So we're like, okay. We went. It just happened to coincide with the trip that we came out here.
Okay.
I kid you not. Pallbearers, Frank Sinatra, Muhammad Ali, whoever, Larry Holmes was a champion right then. Sammy Davis Jr. Like Jesse Jackson delivered the eulogy. Like I'm a kid. And I'm standing up shouting crazy because he was like so inspiring. This was 80s Jesse.
Jesse.
And I'm thinking to myself,
Jesse in the 80s too at that.
right, exactly. Where am I right now? And it's a memory that I will never ever forget. Because obviously,
That's great. You got to see that.
boxing is huge
That's awesome.
out here. So yeah, so Frank Sinatra as a pallbearer for Joe Louis, and as it turns out, when Joe Louis, we're going off on a big tangent here, but this is Las Vegas history because
Might as well.
when Joe Louis retired from boxing, he got into some tax issues, and Frank Sinatra did not like that because here's a guy, Joe Louis, who gave up quite a few years of his career to go serve the country in World War II, and what he did was he put on fight exhibitions overseas to keep the morale of the servicemen, the soldiers, right? So he did it for free. He wasn't getting paid or anything like that. And Frank was like, so you took 4 years of this guy's life, didn't pay him. He went and did what he had to do as a service member, but did what he did to help morale. And you're going to retroactively come back at this guy to try to take his money on the IRS. So he ended up and Joe Louis, they literally took his money. So Frank Sinatra was behind him being able to come and work at some of the hotels and casinos, a greeter, it's Joe Louis, put money in his pocket. So Frank doing a
I heard Uncle Frank took care of a lot of our friends.
A lot of people, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people. So that's
Good
my
Italian.
Yeah. By the way, we're watching the Cincinnati Bengals
awesome.
Take a 3-score lead here against the Miami Dolphins. It's Thursday Night Football, in case you didn't know.
Yeah, we're doing Thursday Night Football.
Thursday Night Football. That's one of the reasons why we're here. But we're also doing the Vic and Vinny show as well. And we're getting into a little bit of history with Vic. So those are your go-tos. Are we talking high school? Are you in high school at this point?
So I went to high school out here. I went to the original Gorman before it became an NFL Stadium Gorman.
Yes.
The amazing
That's beautiful
Gorman.
over there.
I drive by and I'm like, couldn't I have been born a little later so I could have went to this Gorman?
Exactly.
This is not fair.
Exactly. If you haven't been over to Bishop Gorman, it's a powerhouse out here. So,
and if you go to Gorman, there is a chance you will be in the NFL.
Yes. Probably pretty decent odds because it's one of those schools where all the top players go to. I don't necessarily mind that. I like to see great talent, great football teams. Although from California, we've got a school out there, a couple of them,
sure,
and they come out here and pretty much take care of business against. So there's still a little edge to California, bigger population, but Bishop Gorman. I didn't realize that
they got the goods though.
Yes, they did.
They got the goods.
They got
instant replay.
They got
the
everything.
Jumbotron.
Yeah, we're talking about a high school stadium.
I'm proud of that. You know that, right?
Of course, you should be.
The fact that Fertitas and those guys jumped into that.
Yep.
I went to Gorman when it was a small little school on Maryland Parkway.
Right. Okay.
This big.
Right.
And the fact that that was the school that kept me good when I got here, and it blew up to that school. Right.
Yeah, no doubt about it. As has Las Vegas, and that's kind of what we're going to be talking a lot about: food trends, great restaurants, great bars out here. It's ever evolving. I've lived here for 3 years now, and I try to tell people that how is it? It's great, and the food scene and all this. And my theory is you can check out. You can't, but let's just say you checked out every restaurant on the strip, every top restaurant. By the time you complete that task, which is impossible, but let's just say you did.
Yeah, that's a hell of a journey.
20 other new restaurants will have opened
behind you
in that time, right?
As you're doing them, like, oh shoot, wait.
Yeah, now I got to go do those 20.
And then
yes, exactly. So the food scene here.
We're evolving.
Yeah.
The Capita in Vegas is getting insane. We're becoming like a New York.
Right. Strip or off strip, or both?
I know both because I live here.
Yeah.
But I also like to, focus on the strip to see what happens because my goal is to get on there again one day.
Right.
Get there one day.
Yeah.
I used to work there, but I want my spot on there one day. But
your own.
You have the tourism of the strip, but then you have places like Town Square that cater to tourists and locals because it's right on the equator of local and tourist.
Right.
But then, you have a lot of hardworking people around town with their family recipes and their concepts. And the Fuku Burger guys.
Right.
I'm going to give those guys a mention because I love seeing these guys start out with one store and then I blink and there's multiple.
Right.
They're people after my own heart. I do the same thing.
No question about it. Speaking of Town Square, have you been to Milan? The restaurant in Milan?
Not yet. It's on the list. See, you're another person that said to me, have you been to Milan?
Yeah,
I gotta go.
The owner is from Milan. The food is tremendous. Yeah, so give that a shot. Here's a question I always get, and I'm going to defer to the expert here. Best Italian spot?
Best Italian spot? It's a tie.
Ooh, okay.
I got a tie. I love Manzu.
Okay, I've heard about Manzu.
Manzu wins the award of my new favorite Italian spot.
Okay.
Because the owner himself back there is peeling stuff.
Okay, yes, I've seen that actually.
And even though I love Ferraro's because I started my career there, and Gino, the owner, is back there still peeling stuff, and Mimo's opening rapid fire pizza places everywhere.
Right.
My old favorite, I'm a bootlegger fan.
Oh, you still like the bootlegger?
I love the bootlegger,
the bootlegger is
shrimp scampi at 11 at night, some fried calamari.
That's the other part about it is it's open.
It's so
24 hours. Mark Davis, the Raiders owner, big fan.
As he should be.
Yes, big fan.
I'm glad he takes care of my bootlegger.
Yeah, definitely. So if you're out of town, and so many of you come here, the bootlegger is right. As you get onto, get into town, get onto the strip at the very beginning of the strip, you can't miss it.
Yeah, you can stop there on the way in from LA.
And the way out.
Yeah, on the way out.
Either way.
Worth it. They got breakfast. They got real, you're talking like solid Italian food. Like you can go there suited up, or you can go there dressed down a little bit and sit in the bar area. It is authentic to the fullest. Even the bread that they put on the table, watch out because you'll get full from that bread. You cannot stop eating that bread.
Right. It's funny because did you ever think that we'd get to this point where a team like the Raiders, just the NFL in general, would be here?
Brother, I lived here when I was told, we were told, everyone was told that this was never going to happen. So no matter what your team is, the fact that Vegas got a team before you even knew what team it was, we deserve that. We're a regular place now. Regular people live here.
No doubt about it.
Hello, people are being born here.
Right.
Hello.
Right.
So, the fact that we got it is one thing, and, taking nothing away from moving the team away from Oakland and taking that away from them, it didn't move that far, and I notice a lot of them are staying strong. At first, a lot of them were like, damn it, but then they were like, you know what?
Yes.
We'll do it. They believe in their team's expansion and growth, so that's awesome.
And it's so interesting that you bring that up because, I was covering this story from a Los Angeles perspective when I was working in LA. The NFL was going to come back to Los Angeles, and it ended up where, the Rams came back from St. Louis, and then the Chargers joined them. The Raiders were obviously in that picture as well, but they got shut out of getting back to LA. This was like in 2016, and the Raiders were in not necessarily despair, but they had no idea where their next turn was going to be. They had gotten shut out of Los Angeles, essentially, and it was never going to work in Oakland for all these various reasons. So they're sort of at their wits' end, okay, what's the next move? And I'll never forget, I am walking to the elementary school where my kids were going to school to pick them up, and I get a call. And it was, can't say exactly who it was, but it was somebody in the know, let's put it that way. And you sitting down? I'm like, should I be? And they're like, you might want to sit down on this one. I'm like, okay. Starting tomorrow, the Raiders are going to start pursuing Las Vegas as their new home. It's going to be the Las Vegas Raiders. And I just remember thinking, click, the Las Vegas Raiders. That makes perfect sense, and a perfect fit. And to see it all come to fruition the way it has, to see that stadium built,
sick ass stadium,
right? Exactly. To see what Vic's talking about in terms of their Oakland fans staying true to them, their Southern California fans staying true to them. We have a fan here from San Diego who listens to my radio show, Walking the Beach in San Diego, but also has a place here in Las Vegas. They come out here on weekends, on game weekends, from everywhere. A lot of them from Southern California, Northern California, Arizona, the country, because from a Raider fan's perspective, all right, it's not going to be in Oakland, but go to Las Vegas 8 weekends out of the year to go see the team play.
Hey, that helps our economy.
Oh, without doubt.
And it gives them a different experience.
Yeah.
Man. They get to come to Vegas and chill out.
Right.
Welcome, come on.
Right. Exactly. It's putting money in, like on a game weekend now. We have a little rally that we do before each home game, on the Saturday before each home game. We'll continue to do that. We'll give everybody the details. It's going to be over at it's going to be over at the Rockstar Bar and Grill over on Las Vegas Boulevard.
Good location.
Great location.
Yep.
But people literally, I just drove in from LA. That's the first time. I got to come over here to hang out with my other Raider fans. Just got here from Oakland. Just flew in from such and such. Just came in from Pennsylvania. It's nuts. But like Vic said, it helps the local economy. They're here for 3 days. They're eating at the restaurants. They're drinking at the bars.
And they could still be a Raiders fan.
You're right, exactly.
And not lose touch with their team that moved cross country.
Right.
It wasn't like a St. Louis move or something like that.
No. What's also funny is that the Chargers moved 100 miles away.
That's insane.
And their fans dumped them.
They just...
Seriously.
I don't know what happened there. I think they're starting over because they're pretty good.
Yeah, they are pretty good. They are pretty good, but what they're in LA, in Southern California, nobody hates San Diego from LA's perspective. I mean, when I lived in LA, I'm like, who doesn't love San Diego? It's the best. If you talk to somebody from San Diego, they hate Los Angeles. It's the big brother, little brother thing, okay? So the Chargers could have moved to Las Vegas and had a better chance of keeping intact their San Diego fans because it's
Does this mean Henderson's eventually going to hate Vegas?
No.
Okay.
It's got to be a little bit, because
it's not allowed to happen.
Right. It would be more, I don't know what the equivalent would be. But what's so interesting, and a lot of the Charger fans just kicked them to the curb.
Does Raider fans in the West understand how many Raiders fans are in the East?
You know,
They don't know that.
no, they don't.
Especially the older gentlemen,
Yeah.
my uncles, and like they have a thing for the Raiders, man.
Right.
That's their team. Not even the Giants or the Jets.
No, it's
Raiders.
I see that all the time. I travel with the Raiders, so wherever I end up, just this past week in Nashville, in Los Angeles, obviously when they open up the
cool.
season against the Chargers. Yes, I'm not complaining. I'm definitely not
Raiders is
complaining.
becoming a national team.
They absolutely are, and there's always Raider fans, whether they're on the flights, whether at the airports, at the game, the hotel. They're always the
Raiders flights are thick now on the way in.
Oh.
Like if you're traveling
Coming
back
here,
to Vegas, Raiders flights are thick.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It
They're
is,
ready to go.
and you understand that that's again that's just helps the economy incredibly so.
We need those hotel occupancies higher so our people can continue working and there's no disruption in lives.
How eerie was it for you driving the Strip during the?
It's funny you say that. I had to do it every few weeks.
I did too.
Just to suck it in.
Yeah.
Because, I feel that I may have put a nail or two into the foundation
You absolutely
of helping
did.
this town.
Yeah.
So I want to go check on my baby.
Right.
And I'm just like, wow, it's like a ghost town.
Yeah.
I needed to see it.
Right.
But fortunately, as time kept going on, it wasn't too long where it was ghost.
No.
But it was slow, and then it started picking up, and then it just got ballistic again.
Yes.
Like busier than it was before it closed down.
Right, and it kind of did turn pretty quickly there, thankfully,
Yeah.
because we obviously needed it. But it was sort of the barometer. Las Vegas is coming back. That means everyone else is coming back. Things are coming back to normal when you started seeing people out on the Strip. We had just moved here in January or February, early February of 2020.
I was going to say, you moved into the storm.
Yes, we didn't see it coming. I have a pretty interesting story. I'm in Miami at the Super Bowl on a bus that's taking us from the hotel to the game, and I get a call from my sports editor over at the Las Vegas Review-Journal. And at that time, this is February, first week of February, and we're starting to see all the news from where COVID was starting to become prevalent. And my boss was like, "Hey, you should call the NFL, and because the Super Bowl or the Super Bowl or what was the Raiders were landing here." In 2020,
Okay.
there was going to be the draft. The NFL draft was going to be in Las Vegas
All
that
over the
April.
place.
Right. And my boss is like, you ought to check with the NFL to see if there's any contingency plans about having the draft here in Las Vegas. I'm like, why? And he's like, well, this COVID-19 thing over in Asia, have you been following? I'm like, yeah, but that's all the way in. He's like, just keep an eye on that. And sure enough,
February.
right around February, March.
I was finishing rescue before I was told by March I was on the way to rescue, and they're like, turn around.
You're right.
I was actually headed to the last one they filmed before this all happened.
Right.
I was on a roll.
Yeah. And, the bottom fell out.
Bottom row.
Right. What did you do?
Me, honestly, I went from doing nothing to eating a lot of that food that was in my pantry
Right.
to really refocusing and redirecting a lot of things, like finally having the time to think about things that I wasn't able to think about.
Right.
I was filming like quarantine cooking videos for St. Jude's for children. The kids were following me, and they were making the recipes I was making.
Right.
I was just trying to keep the blood flowing.
Right.
Dude.
Yeah. You had
know
to.
what I mean?
You had
and
to.
helping others, feeding a lot of people.
Right.
I worked for food distribution, so a lot of that food was spoiling because restaurants were slower.
Right.
So before it would spoil and it was still safe and good,
Right.
we would turn that into food for people.
Right.
You see the long lines of people?
Yeah.
I was doing a lot of that
all
stuff
right.
too. Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Oh, dude.
Thank
absolutely.
you for
Always
that.
and forever.
You know, out of desperation and out of despair and out of tragedy and just Mother Nature, I guess. Really, when you think about it, I'm always impressed by the ingenuity. I know that it got political. We get it. We're not going to get into that. And there was finger pointing. That always happens. But at the core level there was a lot of humanity as well that existed during that time in trying to figure this out and really honestly get through it together. And I always like the food delivery, things like
that whole thing.
Yeah.
I was on both sides of that.
Right.
I had to get every single food delivery service and rearrange the prices.
Right.
And it was food. You had to rearrange prices because food was going up because not enough of it was being produced.
Exactly.
I was in that whole cyclone, man.
Right.
We can touch on that eventually.
Yes, we will.
Like, I will give you the full on what the heck happened behind the scenes, what restaurants had to do to produce that food for someone that came in.
And the thing is, when you live in a country like America, let's just put it that way, we have expectations. Like and this imperfect storm hits us, but we still wanted some of the things that we enjoyed doing, one of which is getting a good meal, at a restaurant, but restaurants are closed, and trying to just figure that all out and still sort of make do. We got through it, and it was definitely stressful.
But a lot of people, man, got redirected.
Yeah.
Like, some restaurants got twice as busy. Some restaurants shut down.
Right. What do you think the key was for a restaurant to kind of survive that?
The truth, I've seen a lot of the fine dining places twist their whole program into more to-go food.
Yeah.
And making it to where people can pick it up, so they can still get a dining experience that they missed.
Right.
So I saw a lot of fine restaurants transform, but the truth is, and this is the absolute truth, you couldn't have okay food. You had to have good food. You had to have food that distracted people for 1 hour when they were eating it to make them
I missed this.
think about this stuff.
Right, exactly.
We closed for a few days.
Okay.
And people said, please don't close because food is one of the few things that's left.
Definitely.
And we were like, we were just closing just to follow protocol and do the right thing. And humans were like, no.
Yes, exactly.
And I was like, okay, wow, we're going to listen to them.
Yes, and let's figure out how to do it and how to do it well.
You had to have the human factor in it. You had to hear what the people were saying.
Of course.
Okay, guys, we closed because we thought that was the right thing to do. But it seems the right thing to do is stay open and have your food ready for you when you call up. And we run it out to you.
Right. And in my line of work, covering the NFL, and I'm never going to forget that whole year of covering the NFL in the middle of a pandemic was just insane when I look back on it. I've talked to players who are like, can you believe that we actually did all that we got through it? I was getting
How was that?
COVID weird, and just getting COVID tested every single day, and all you having to wear a wrist, like a band to make sure that whole thing. I remember
brain scratch.
Right. I talked to I got a heads up from a Raider player that was kind of close to, and I was like, because they had been doing it a week or two before we started. I texted them. I was like,
I bet the boys were doing
how bad is it?
I bet the boys had to do it twice a day.
All the time. He's like, it just tickles a little bit. I'm like, okay. This was like first
tickle.
I'm like, tickle, what the,
Made your eyebrows shoot to your head.
Exactly. So we'll get into that too. It was a very weird year, and there were all the rules and regulations, and somehow, some way, the NFL got through it without missing a game. I went on the road. I'll tell you stories about being at empty stadiums, watching games, and understanding I'll never, ever, ever, Vic, ever take for granted the fan part of professional sports or what I do.
Completely different.
It's you're heartbroken because you're like it's quiet. It's like watching practice. The games were okay, and if you watched it on TV, it was probably a better experience than actually being there, because you
Which
just
I
were
did.
reminded. Yeah.
I needed it. I was like, I need
right.
that.
Yeah.
Hoping it would stay on, hoping it wouldn't go off. Remember that too. At home, you were wondering any week if they were going to.
That was always the big worry.
Oh my God, but somehow. Somehow.
There were times where players were missing an entire week of practice because they were exposed or they had it or they didn't follow the correct protocols, and then they're out there playing. They were doing like Zoom meetings, practices, and it was
There are
insane.
some companies out there, entertainment-wise, like, the footballs, the wrestlings, the UFC, that kept it.
Yeah.
Like they figured it out.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, what was really interesting about that was how essential it truly was to the everyday person to kind of get them through what was really a terrible situation. The UFC, the boxing, the football games.
Figured it out.
Yeah.
Like boxing, everybody. It was perfect. Thank God that didn't shut down. I don't know what we would do.
No, exactly. We got through it, and we're definitely, I wouldn't say better off for it, but we're on the other side of it, and hopefully that never happens again. But especially in a town like Las Vegas and like you, I would, because we had just gotten here, so going down to the Strip and seeing it just be a ghost town is kind of heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking. Because I knew a lot of those people that worked in those
That's
places
the
that
other
were
part
closed.
of it, yeah.
I was there.
Yeah.
We'll get into those stories, my decade on the Strip, but so many people had to get put on ice. But,
Right.
You're closed for a year and a half. People are building their careers, man.
Yeah.
Too. Okay, yeah, your pay, you're getting money maybe from here or there, you're getting through that, but it's like a kid not going to school. Which
Right.
I don't even want to get into that.
Right, exactly. And yeah, my kids missed a year and a half of school.
Oh, that's a whole episode itself.
Yeah, just doing their homework on, doing the Zoom and the meetings, and it's just, it was very, very stressful.
The teachers, bro.
Oh, yeah.
And what about the teachers trying to teach the kids that was more difficult to teach?
Right.
Our little guys and girls that needed extra attention,
Yeah.
and the teachers are trying to do it.
Yeah. You know what?
Through the screen?
I'll say what kind of bothered me was some of the pushback on the teachers, and they're just trying to do everybody was just trying to do the best that they could.
People are trying to, on one hand, figure it out, the other hand, keep going.
Yeah, and then there was other people that were resisting whatever, and it was just, but again, fortunately, we got through it, and here we are, and it was kind of a, this is our first go at it, but as we continue on, we're going to have Vic explain to us, especially for people that are coming into town or watching locally, some tips on some of the great eateries out here, the great bars that are coming, and it just, I marvel at how every day it seems, the grand opening of this, the grand opening of that. Over here, there's an opening to this.
Then I have some favorites, and I have a lot of great people out there that work hard to put something delicious on a plate or in a glass that I need to talk about on this.
Yes, and I can't wait. I can't wait to talk about it. And from time to time, we'll have some of them come join us, and maybe we'll
even bring something.
That's what I'm thinking. I didn't want to say it.
My friends never come empty-handed.
There you go. So we can be your taste testers, if you will. A
lot of talent out there as far as chefs.
Yes, I can't wait to get into all of that, and I can't wait to get to know you better.
Ben, you're amazing, brother. Fellow bald man.
Yes, exactly.
From the East Coast.
From the East Coast, exactly.
We're going to have some great conversations. We have, great people out there that want to see this. They've been waiting for it, and we're going to take two amazing things and put them together in the city of Las Vegas.
Football, food, fun, all of that. It goes hand in hand, and I think these guys are going to help out a little bit. They're going to win a game. Maybe this week against the Denver Broncos.
I
feel like they're going to take
It's a divisional game. You know the deal.
Yes.
Divisional games, it changes.
And they're already down 0-1 in the division, losing
Hawks
to the
are
Chargers.
not 3-0, 0-3, divisional games.
And
my God.
You know who they have coming right after that is the Kansas City Chiefs. So, and then it's the bye week. So if they can somehow, some way win these next two games against the Broncos and the Chiefs, hit the bye week at 2-3, then it'll look a whole lot better than what it does right now.
Didn't KC just lose?
They did just lose. They're not. We'll talk about that in next week, but they're not. I don't think the Chiefs are the Chiefs right now.
I don't dislike KC, but I got to have my Raider people back.
Yeah, there you go. And of course, KC with the barbecue. I'm going to KC next week. Maybe I'll have some barbecue.
Bring some back.
Okay.
For the next show. We'll
Yes.
go through
Ooh. All right. Deal. That's a deal. Thank you very much for being a part of this history-making moment. We're going to be back at it next week. Hit the subscribe button. We'd really appreciate that. We want you to be part of this. When you're in town, we'll always keep you updated on where we're going to be, where we're going to be filming. But we would love for you to come join us. We're here to answer questions, give you tips if you want to come on and talk with us. We'd love that as well. It's the Vic and Vinny Show live from the Pub 365 here at the great Tuscany Suites and Casino.
Watch us evolve
Yes.
as we go.
Exactly.